Hi, friends. I'm Amanda. Welcome to Quality Strategy in 10, part of the Shield Maiden's Way Through Systems, where we explore story-rich strategy, testing truth, and systems that hold. Today's episode is called Severity Isn't Just a Field in Jira. I know not everyone uses Jira. Maybe it's ADO, Trello, Bugzilla, a spreadsheet, or sticky notes on a wall. But whatever the tool is, there's always a way to mark how serious the problem is. Sometimes it's a dropdown. Sometimes it's a number or a color. Sometimes the sticky note just has an angry face drawn on it. Whatever the format, it's not just data entry. Severity is a signal. It's a snapshot of impact. So today, we're going to unpack severity, not as a box to check, but as a marker on the path. The kind that tells you where the ground is stable, where it's getting rough, and where a misstep could send the whole journey off course. Now, if severity is more than a checkbox, the real question is, why does it matter so much? Why not just pick a number and move on? Because severity, it's shorthand for the story you're telling about impact. When you mark something as critical, you're saying, this problem stops the journey right here. No one gets past until it's fixed. When you mark something low, you're saying, it's a bump in the road. People can keep moving, but it's worth smoothing out eventually. And that story, whether spoken aloud or not, drives decisions. It shapes which fixes rise to the top, which risks get accepted, and which issues fade quietly to the bottom of the list. The tricky part? Not everyone sees severity through the same lens. A designer might view an accessibility gap as urgent. A developer might rank a back-end performance issue higher. Product might focus on feature-breaking defects. And leadership? They might zero in on customer-facing outages. Quality? Quality might be trying to hold all of these in the same frame. I've seen it happen. Dev, product, design, QA, leadership, everybody's in the room. Everybody's at the meeting, looking at the issue, giving it a completely different severity. Not because they were wrong, but because they were measuring impact through a different frame. Without a shared language, the conversation just stalls. And worse, it stalls trust. When those perspectives collide without alignment, severity stops being a clear signal and starts becoming a debate. Here's where the trust erodes. When severity turns into a bargaining chip instead of a reflection of real impact. Once that happens, people stop believing in the field at all. It becomes just another checkbox to get through instead of a tool for navigating risk. So if we want severity to hold real weight, to actually help guide us along the path, we have to do more than fill in a dropdown. We have to define it, share it, and use it with intention. That's where the definitions come in. If we want severity to mean something, we can't just leave it to the gut feeling in the moment. We need a shared language, a way for everyone to see the same marker on the path and understand what that marker means. That starts with defining each level in the context of our products. Sure, we can all search up what critical means in generic testing terms, but a critical issue in a medical app is not the same as a critical issue in a photo sharing app. Context matters. Stakes matter. When teams set severity definitions, we should ask, what completely stops our user's journey? What creates serious risk if it fails? What frustrates but still lets them move forward? Those answers become our anchors, so when an issue shows up, we're not debating severity from scratch. We're measuring it against something everyone agreed on when the pressure was low. I remember one team where critical meant something different to almost every single person in the room. For a developer, it meant a full crash. For product, it meant that showstopper for the launch. For support, it meant emails lighting up with angry customers. For QA, it was all the above and a few things nobody else had thought of. We can fix that by sitting down together, not in the middle of a fire, but on some Random Calm Tuesday, and writing definitions in plain language. No jargon. Just, if X happens, it's this level. If Y happens, it's that level. And if we include examples from past incidents, it's grounded in reality, not just theory. This isn't just for QA. Developers, product managers, designers, support teams, leadership, everyone. If you're part of building or maintaining the system, you're part of designing what each level means. Because if we don't have that shared lens, we'll keep tripping over the same arguments in every release cycle. Once everyone's looking through the same lens, Severity stops being a bargaining chip and starts being a compass. It points us towards what matters most right now and keeps us from wandering off the path chasing the wrong problems. Here's the thing about a compass. It doesn't show you or tell you how to walk the path. It doesn't climb the hills for you or keep you from stepping in that muddy puddle. It just points you in the right direction. Severity works the same way. Once we have a shared definition, it doesn't magically solve every problem, but it keeps us from walking around in circles or wandering into the weeds, especially when the pressure's high and every path looks urgent. That's true before and after launch. Before launch, Severity guides the choices we make while building, shaping how we write requirements, how we scope features, and how we decide whether something is worth shipping now or holding back until it's ready. After launch, Severity helps us navigate the wild. It's how we decide whether a production bug is a quick fix, a release stopper, or something we can patch next sprint. It's what keeps a single customer report from being dismissed, or what keeps that noisy, low-impact issue from derailing the whole roadmap. The path from idea to release is full of choices, but so is the path from release to stability. A clear severity scale keeps us honest about which is which. It's a reality check we can all hold in our hands, grounded in what matters most to our users and our business, no matter where we are in the product's life. And here's where the compass really earns its place. When we're standing at that fork in the road, facing that pressure to go faster, it's what keeps us from rushing into unstable ground. It's the thing that says, this path might be longer, but it will hold. Because truth is, the fastest path isn't always the one worth taking. The fastest fix isn't always the one that lasts. But a compass only shows you and tells you where you are and where you're going. It doesn't tell you what's worth guarding when you arrive. For that, we need a mirror to see with clear eyes what our choices are really protecting along the path. Severity is that mirror, showing us, without flinching, what we choose to protect and what we're willing to leave behind. Every time we assign a severity, we're not just labeling a bug. We're holding up a reflection of what matters to us. If we mark an accessibility gap as low, we're saying it's not urgent for our users who rely on that feature. If we rank a backend stability issue as critical, we're saying uptime and reliability are non-negotiable. The mirror doesn't care about our intentions. It reflects the choices we make. And the patterns in those choices tell a story about what we protect first, about what risks we're willing to take, and about whose experience matters most when time and resources are tight. It's why severity isn't just a technical conversation. It's a product conversation, a cultural conversation, a trust conversation. Because when users hit a bug, they don't see our capacity limits or our sprint boards. They see whether we cared enough to fix it. They feel whether the impact to them was something we recognized or something we decided we could live with. If our severity scale is clear, intentional, and shared, then every decision we make through it reinforces trust. But if it's inconsistent, if it shifts based on who's asking, how visible the issue is, or how loudly someone complains, then trust erodes, even if we're shipping fixes. Severity isn't just a field to fill in, it's a reflection of our values, our priorities, and the promises we're willing to keep. When we treat it as just another checkbox, we risk walking blind. And when we treat it with intention, we give our teams a clearer map. If we want to keep that map aligned with the truth, we have to look beyond the bugs themselves, into how trust is built when the whole system isn't in our hands. In the next episode, we're going to talk about one of the biggest tools we have for keeping that map honest: building trust when we don't control every piece of the system. Because sometimes, our role isn't to own the architecture, it's to keep the story honest. And on this path, that's just as critical as the journey. If what we talked about today helps you see the path more clearly, like, subscribe, and stick around. We've got more ground to cover. Join me, won't you? This is the Shield Maiden's way through systems, wielding clarity, guarding trust, and building systems that hold. The views and opinions in this series are my own and do not represent any employer, client, or third party.